unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Errol Spence says it's good whenever he can fight Terence Crawford this year, next year, it don't matter. He thinks the fight will happen. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It does help the channel when you guys click on that link. You can sign up for ESPN Plus as a standalone. It normally has UFC, it has Top Rank Boxing, sports documentaries, and college football, sports programming, docu-series, 30 for 30, those types of things. Right now, obviously, people are quarantined and stuff like that, so there's no real live events in anything. You know, NBA was the first to kind of motion this, and then Nevada and different states have followed suits, the boxing and UFC, etc. So if you want to catch up on some documentaries and things like that, click on that link. You can also bundle ESPN Plus with Hulu and Disney Plus. It does help the channel when you guys click on that link, and that's more content for you guys during this time if you guys have extra time from your jobs and, you know, trapped in the house. So if you like to set it up, click on that link. We working. So Errol Spence, he did a live. He went on live on his social media handle, and he was asked about Terence Crawford or something in the comment section, and Errol Spence said this: that fight can happen whenever, man down. He said this year or next, we are going to fight. If we do not fight this year, it will definitely be next year. End quote. So that's the latest. Listen, you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm just a realist. And when it comes to my channel, that's how I've been. That's what's got me this far. So there's no reason for me to switch up now and stop doing a tried and true method that at least works for me and enables me to deliver and dish out the content to you guys and be my authentic self and be who I am, which is a realist. The Spence versus Crawford fight, I really don't see it happening this year, you know. And you can say, oh, you're being negative and stuff. I understand Wilder, Fury fought, but you got to understand what I've been saying from the beginning. Wilder versus Fury was a mandatory thing that kind of needed to happen. It would have looked bad if Top Rank wasn't willing to work with Al Heyman on that particular one, because before Top Rank even got involved in the career of Tyson Fury, right, the Wilder Fury teams met up and had a successful fight, and they knew the second would be bigger. So ESPN, here's a fun fact: ESPN only had one show in the 2019 last year, you know, calendar year, that did over 1 million viewership, right? And that was the Terence Crawford card with Teofimo versus Richard Comey, Mick Connellan avenging his amateur controversial loss, and Terence Crawford versus Mean Machine. That was the only fight, look it up, that Top Rank had on regular ESPN that did over 1 million. So Top Rank, in addition to everything else of that I just said, Top Rank kind of needed a hit. You know, they needed something that was going to be a guaranteed hit for ESPN, because UFC's been rolling and putting out numbers. You know, every time Conor McGregor comes back, he does numbers, things of that sort. So in my opinion, they had to produce something that was big. But beyond that, there was a history and a precedent already established before Top Rank even got involved in the career of Tyson Fury. So that's not the same scenario or the situation. And when we're talking about Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, here's another difference for you guys. And I'm just being real. I'm not saying, oh, like, because listen, I'm not the politics in the game. You know, there'd be a lot of fights that were made if I had total control and was the ultimate matchmaker who had a say in it. I'm just telling you what I honestly see. The other issue is The welterweight division is totally different apart from the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division there's like a tier system. It's very easy to see the who's who. You have either guys who are champions or former champions, you know, and that's like the top tier guys. So Wilder, former champion Tyson Fury, champion Joshua who lost, Ruiz, champion who lost, you know, or maybe a guy like that has tried for a title and came up short, like Andy Ruiz in his, you know, he lost his title. Luis Ortiz, stuff like that. And then you have some up and comers who are really dope, but they don't have the resume. They don't have the years in the game or the fights. They're not deep enough in their fights. So you have Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, Tony Yoka, Gerald Miller, but they're still working on their journey. So they don't have all the top highest level names. Like none of those guys have fought a Dillian White or anybody like that. You see what I'm saying? Or even a Povetkin, you know? So the heavyweight division is very easy to see the who's who and where everyone else is in their career. Versus welterweight, that's a totally different animal. Welterweight, you have a lot of established, very good fighters that we all know are very good. Terence Crawford, you know, Mikey's supposed to be staying up there, or his last fight was there, his last 2 fights. So Mikey Garcia, you have Danny Garcia, you have Errol Spence, you have Bud Crawford, right? You have Keith Thurman, you have Pacquiao. So this is a different pool of talent, and majority of those guys are with PBC, as I told you guys from the beginning. So Terence Crawford, he just ultimately doesn't have as many options based on his politics. I don't think Crawford nor Spence are actually afraid of fighting each other. I think they both have kind of the same energy, and they both really truly think they can beat the other person. The only way to find out is if they fight. I get it, but I don't see it, you know. And to make that even more messed up, again, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I just got to keep it real with y'all, is we're dealing with this corona stuff. So this whole corona stuff set everybody's calendar back, you know, and not in a good way. We don't even know when the economy will pick up, you know, or how big, how long it'll last, how long, and how big of a, you know, this could be a recession if it lasts too long. You see what I'm saying? So you really think they're going to be worried about making this, people are losing profit right now. These companies are losing profit right now. All of them. You know, imagine Vegas, all the casinos shut down, the strip shut down. Think about how much money that Vegas makes. They usually have a sporting event, boxing, UFC, magician, David Copperfield or something, J-Lo, or, you know, Britney Spears, some performer, you know. They have nightclubs, Trey Songz and T.I. and all these people, Chris Brown hosting, Drake hosting the club, people with residencies and different things like that. They have gambling, they have food, restaurants, food courts, they have tips, right? They have valet parking. That's all gone right now. All of it. You know, they're not making no money, no gambling money, nothing because of this pandemic. So people are going to be operating kind of at a loss or behind schedule. So do you really think that with all things considered, people's schedules already jumbled up, you know, and we don't know when this is going to have an end? You think the highest priority is going to be a Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford fight, where we never even seen no indication that it was going to happen this year, like any positive trends towards that at all? The only positive trend you could say is that Top Rank worked with PBC for a whole different isolated fight, which is Wilder Fury, which I've already explained. Wilder Fury was a fight that was established before Top Rank involvement with Tyson Fury. That's not the same situation with Crawford Spence. So it's kind of funny that so many people are talking about this fight, and, you know, people really holding out hope. I would never in a million, never hold my breath for a fight like that to happen. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be a cynic or cynical, be negative Nancy. I'm telling you what I see and what I feel. And like I said, this whole Rona stuff has pushed everybody back anyway. So companies are going to be operating and trying to get profit and make up for lost time where they couldn't, get no licensing fee from ESPN or Fox. They couldn't sell no tickets. They couldn't sell no merchandise. Couldn't sell no pay-per-views. So I really don't see that being it, But what do I know? Maybe this forces them to make the fight because they need another big fight because they lost so much money at the first half. I don't know, but I don't see it happening this year. So I don't think it's down to the fighters either, And Derek James, he brought something up, and then Terence Crawford called him a hater, and I made a video about that. But I actually felt what Derek James was saying. To me, it makes sense, and it's what I told you. The bottom line is Errol Spence has a ton of options. First of all, he got in this wreck. We got to see him back in general to see how he's looking. But I'm going to let him come back however he wants to. He wants to fight Pacquiao straight away, Crawford straight away, Danny Garcia. That's up to him. But if he wants to take a tune-up, I can understand that as well. Depends on how your body. You got to listen to your body, listen to your mind, and not bite off more than you can chew coming out of the situation he came out of where some would have lost their life, right? So you got that. That's another reason why I don't think the fight will happen this year, because it's just that pushed. Errol Spence was already supposed to fight in January. So we would have, before the Rona situation, we would have seen Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence. That was a week before the Super Bowl, and then he got in that accident. So, things are unpredictable, and that's what happened. So I just don't see a immediate future for Terence Crawford. I don't understand why people are acting like they're really believing that this is going to happen. Like I said, show me. The other thing is this. We don't know if Floyd, he received a lot of tragedy this year, and I want to send condolences to his family, his uncle, the mother of his children, within a week. But he said he was coming back. So we don't know what that did. We don't know if his plans are canceled, because obviously he's not going to be thinking about fighting right now. But if he does decide to come back at the third or fourth quarter of last year, that's an option. Canelo's plans, he was supposed to fight in May. That got pushed back. So you have to look at the available dates as well. Canelo still maybe fights an interim fight with Billy Joe Saunders. Triple G maybe fight an interim fight with Camille Sesmeta, and then they're supposed to fight each other in September. So no one's going to compete and put a Crawford versus Errol Spence on and have to compete with another big fight, or a decent fight. I don't even think Canelo Triple G3 is huge, but it would be stupid for the companies to go at each other like that and make Canelo Triple G3 on the same night. That would mess up somebody's profit, because some people would pick the other. So that would just be stupid. So that wouldn't happen. So it's just too much up in the air. Fights got to get rescheduled now, and we're behind in boxing. You see what I'm saying? We're behind because of what's going on with this pandemic. So by the time that clears up, there's going to be, I can't tell you when it's going to clear up, because I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to last, but hopefully it clears up soon. And if it does clear up soon, then we've already wasted some time where we were stagnant for obvious reasons. So I just don't see the priority being it. We weren't even when things were clear skies, we weren't headed towards that. You had Tim from PBC who says, man, Crawford should just keep building his brand. We working on Errol Spence. We building stars over here, blah, blah, blah. So it didn't look like it was even trending towards that. So I don't understand why you guys keep asking Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. They're going to keep saying the same thing. They want to fight each other, but it all comes down to what I'm telling you, the politics and the people in the suits, and when the money's at the tipping point where this fight will happen. That's it. That's the only reason. I think there's no fear in Errol Spence or Terence Crawford's heart about actually risking it all, but there's just different game plans and different things in play above and beyond that, politics wise, the landscape that is preventing it. No more, no less. That's what I truly believe. If let's say we were in high school and Errol Spence and Terence Crawford didn't like each other in high school. From what I know about both guys, they would meet each other at the park at right after school at 3 p.m. and meet at the park and scrap. Because that's something that we don't need teachers. In fact, we don't want no teachers to find out and try to prevent us from going to the park. So you don't tell no adults. You don't tell, that's how we used to get down in high school. You don't tell no authorities. You don't tell no adults. You don't tell no principal. Yard duty. You don't tell nobody. And you set it up, and then y'all would have to go to the park and scrap. That's it. So if this was high school, and there was no politics and stuff, based on the temperament of Errol Spence and the temperament of Terence Crawford, I think they would both show up at the park like, what's up? And then they would get that off their chest. But that's not the actual boxing world we live in. People always say, oh, boxing's a business when it comes to certain things, when it comes to Canelo A-siding people or something. But guess what? Now all of a sudden boxing ain't a business. You said boxing's a business when Canelo fights Kovalev and then claim it's because he has the bigger name out of Better Biev or something, or he's a better fighter than Better Biev. So you deal with the politics then, you're going to deal with it now. That's just what I see. So I think it's beyond the fighters. I think it's, different programs and agendas and stuff like that. And truth be told, from a business perspective, I can't even blame PBC. I can't even hold you. I'm not going to hold you. I can't blame the PBC. They have more options. They're building stars, like with Gervonta Davis, if he fights Leo Santa Cruz and the way they're moving him. Errol Spence, they put a lot of energy into him. He unified. His name is getting bigger. Charlo, they're building real stars. So, of course, people are going to want to fight and connect their name to that. And we're seeing that, You see Ryan Garcia constantly talking about Tank, but it don't look like it's getting anywhere. So, for me, I'm not, you see me, I'm not making videos every time I see stuff, unless I had no other videos that I need to get off my chest, because it's counterproductive to what I want to do with new media. You see what I'm saying? Talking about all this fantasy. People keep talking about Errol Spence and Crawford and Ryan Garcia versus Tank, but there's no positive signs of life. It's just like a paramedic and the person clearly has no pulse, and you try to resuscitate them and they're clearly gone. Their bodies turn cold and you've been sitting there for 40 minutes trying to bring them back to life. Let it go. That person is gone. They moved over, and that's what I feel. I don't think that Crawford, in that analogy, I don't think the fight's dead. So I don't think it's like impossible to make. But with all things considered in this pandemic, I really don't see it happening this year. That's my truest thought. But, you guys can keep asking them the same question over and over. They're down to fight each other. It's just when everything aligns. But Derek James, as I was starting to mention, he said something that made sense to me. And I agree with it. He said, how much, I really feel like, okay. They said the initial forecast for Wilder versus Fury, two charismatic personalities in the heavyweight division that had a controversial first fight, did just over $1 million, and it had Super Bowl promotions and NFL playoff promotions, and they try to promote it with two different networks, ESPN and Fox, right, during football games and this, that, and the other, and on ESPN and the First Take. And they said that fight did 850,000 to 1.2 million. So you look at Errol Spence versus Crawford. Yes, it's a good fight, but what type of numbers is it going to do? So they team up again. Is it going to do 2 million to the point where everybody's just eating crazy? I don't see that, So stringing it out would probably be better. It's not, to me, it's a great fight, but a great fight doesn't always represent the biggest business. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of rappers who are the dopest lyricists, but that don't mean their album is going to sell like somebody who's not a lyricist. It's business. Kids might be into Lil Uzi Vert or whoever, Lil Peekaboo, the mumble rapper, he might have better sales than the actual lyricist at this current point in time. So you got to analyze the business as well. Terence Crawford versus Spence, I really don't think at this current point it would do triumphantly more pay-per-view buys at this point than Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2 did. And that fight did, with all the promotion, all the Super Bowl spots and all that, it did 850 to 1.2 million. They had Wilder Fury, two personalities, two speakers and talkers. They had it at gas stations, and it did that type of number. So that's why I encouraged you guys to order that fight, because see, we're entering a time where a lot of people ain't putting their money where their mouth is. You know, they're trying to save a little bit of money so they're not getting the pay-per-view, and they're getting it, watching it on somebody's living room through a Facebook stream or something. That's why I tell you, especially for these big fights, you gotta come out of pocket and support it. Because if you really cared about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, you would have to make Wilder Fury 2, if you're a real boxing fan and that fight interests you, which it should have, right? You have to make that a success. Because if that doesn't do what these people in the suits want it to do, then you think they're going to want to work together and split the profits and stuff like that? Now we got to split profits for something that just did over $1 million, which is cool, you know, and it's the best numbers that a pay-per-view's done since probably Floyd or something, or Canelo. But still, when HBO had Canelo versus Triple G, he did similar numbers. You know, he did 1.3 or 1.4 million, but HBO didn't have to split it like that. They didn't have to, they weren't working with Showtime. You know, that was just the HBO pay-per-view. So guess what? They got to reap all the benefits. Showtime and ESPN had to split the duties and split the tab. So that's different. So that's what I was saying. A lot of people complain, oh, when is Crawford, but when he's going to fight Errol Spence, when Errol going to step up, and trying to make it look like one guy's ducking the other. But you guys are lazy and not putting your money where your mouth is, to the point where some of these other fights ain't doing the numbers that they could or should do. And then you wondering why they don't do it again, you know, straight away, or they string it out to let it marinate and grow and let the pot grow, you know? So you guys got to take a proactive approach. You know, put your money where your mouth is. If you really want to see it, demand for it, and put your money up for some of these other events, and show that boxing is popping and at its peak, and then maybe it'll happen. That's my time. Let me know what you guys think. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.